Welcome, 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 everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. My name is Pawel, with my very kind and very prepared colleague and co-host, Evan Renaerts. Evan, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, thanks. I'm
I always
wondering
got to
what you
think of
got
a
up your
different
sleeve,
word every
man.
single time. My wonderful co-host.
Well, and I was
change
thinking, it's just like when we start the show, I am always thinking, what's he up to? He's really kind right now. He must be up to something. It's been a great week. It's been a really good week, especially in comparison to the previous two. Looking forward to tonight's show, getting some good conversation in. And looks like next week we'll have Hart Levine on, just wrapping up a couple small details, guys from Puckpedia. So I guess that's a good spot to maybe give a little plug in here and add to what we have going on out there. Go ahead, Pawel.
For sure. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Facebook, on YouTube. We are on X/Twitter. We are on Instagram. So give us a follow and subscribe. It really does help us, and it goes a long way. We appreciate all the valid discussions, shout outs, people reaching out to us. It's been really amazing. So make sure to like this video. We always appreciate it. It does go a long way. Yeah, it's been a crazy good week. We've had a lot going on in the NHL, Evan. There's been a lot happening, but it cannot be understated how incredible it has been to our, of course, sponsors who have been helping with us. So Puckpedia, Hart Levine's going to be on next week. Northern Michigan Warhouse. They had some big games over the last weekend, which was really fun to see. Penny Billionaires, you love that intro song? That's what's playing at the beginning. JR Web Design. You need a space to be creative and designed. Check out JR Web Design. And of course, Flow Hockey and the Pro Hockey Group. We love the partnerships we have. If you want to partner with us, please feel free to reach out to us at Two Guys and a hockey talk at gmail.com. We love talking to you guys. We love hearing from you. We love connecting and building. But yeah, busy week around the NHL. And I guess we should get started first, Evan, with injury woes, because it's been quite chaotic, and no other than the West Coast. Vancouver Canucks, Thatcher Demko is now out once again. Now, he's coming off that awkward kind of thing versus the game versus Columbus, in which also Quinn Hughes also looked like he got injured or went off the ice. He was able to skate off.
Yeah.
So you always take that as a positive. Of course, when teams say, it's undisclosed or it's upper body or lower body, it could be a myriad of things, especially given, and we'll get into the gambling side of it later. If players or people are betting on these games and saying, hey, are the Vancouver Canucks going to make the postseason? Well, you need a healthy Demko. So what can you tell us about Thatcher Demko? Because it looks like he's kind of potentially going to be back, but we don't know for sure, right?
Right. So right now, from most reports that are out there right now, what we're actually hearing is this is just temporary. There's nothing to it much. But is this the same injury as he's had before? Sorry, guys, I'm just sending out some texts here last minute and get some correspondence. Is this the same injury or not? We're not getting any official answer on this right now. I don't think it is. And so I think it's just a matter of wait and see. This is really hard, I think, right now for the Vancouver Canucks fans, because they're sitting in anticipation like, we don't have a chance if Demko's gone again. That's the big wait and see. So let's hope that they actually figure something out. From the best of our understanding, this injury is not the same as his previous one. So that would be great, because now if I could be wrong on this, and correct me, he had a muscle tear on his popliteus. I think it was what it was called. That's way back from game one in Nashville, the year and a half ago. This is just seemingly maintenance on something like you just said. So that's the good news. Hopefully we're being told the correct news.
100%. And I believe the other thing that was kind of indicated is that through Elliot Freeman on the 32 Thoughts, is that the organization, the Vancouver Canucks organization, has indicated that they are willing to go through with this with Demko's injuries and are prepared for the worst. I mean, they did sign Lankinen to that 5-year extension, so they know what they're getting into. They're expecting for him to kind of push through, and they have some of the best medical staff available, so they probably know how to address this, how to treat it, and Demko himself would probably know what's the best way to kind of mitigate or minimize the aggression of the injury so it doesn't hurt him more or aggravate it further, or that he's able to play at the elite level without harming it further. So, it's things like that. And speaking of another Canadian team, we saw a bit of a blowout with the Toronto Maple Leafs by the Boston Bruins. So I'm sure our friend Grant Cummings is very happy with where his Bruins are at, because without Patrice Bergeron, without Brad Marchand, without Zdeno Chara, who was in the Hockey Hall of Fame over the past weekend, I mean, this team has really had to find its identity. And so they're coming off this 5-3 win. But what was kind of the storyline is Zadorov had his way with a few of the players, and he kind of cross-checked Matthews into the boards. And, of course, Matthews had to go after him a little bit and protect himself. Nobody stepped in until later on. Domi tried to fight Zadorov, of which afterwards in the post-press conference, Zadorov said he doesn't fight buddies that he played with and won with. So really, I wanted to get your take on what does the Toronto Maple Leafs do now without their captain? Because this seems like he may or may not play against LA tomorrow night. He could be out for a while. And he's had a hard time going with it this year, as have the Toronto Maple Leafs, that they're looking on the outside in for the postseason at 8-1. Go ahead, Evan.
I think the benefit this year is the Eastern Conference is so close. The parity right now between last place and top place. I mean, when you talk, what's the point range right now? 8 points, I think, is all you got. 4 games or something like that. I'm not sure exactly. But one of the things that I think that I'm most concerned about is they never replaced Marner. We've said this over and over. I know a lot of people said, well, you take his salary and just get a lot of depth players. It doesn't work. Like, I know all this talk, even in places when Colorado and in Edmonton, that, you can't have these top star players and just throw in guys. Well, yes, you can. And the proof of it is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has done it again and again. And what do they do this year? With 2 old guys, we're 2 guys and they're 2 old guys, even though we're older. Well, actually, you're not. I am. Between us, we're older. But essentially, if you think about this, right? I got 2 guys at their age, and yet they're working with guys like Kindle and Brazeau, and I guess guys are Ricard Raquel and that. But they're fixers. They're depth players, and you can. I disagree with it. If you got 3-4 key good quality players, you just got to be good at development for the rest when you're drafting and getting guys low end first round or trading that pick away and getting second, and find them in the NCAA, find them in Europe. That's one of the things really.
Yeah, and Lost Truckers mentioning Avs finally replaced Kadri with Natchez, I believe she's trying to implement or talk about, and he's looking great. I agree, but I think Kadri wasn't being replaced by Natchez. It was Rantanen that they were trying to replace. So that's kind of what's been put there.
I think Brock Nelson is a replacement for Kadri.
Yes,
essentially.
correct. Yeah. And they've gone through quite a few, right? Because they went a few trades through their time frame ever since losing him. So it's been tough for them. I mean, they brought in Drouin, and he was vouched for by McKinnon, who they played together when they were younger and prospects. It didn't pan out. I mean, he's doing well. I believe in the island, but he really kind of revitalized career because he struggled in Montreal and really just had a hard time going. But
if we're fair to things though, when he was in Montreal, that became a mess for his mental health. There was a lot of things behind the scenes, and I think the change to work with McKinnon, learn some of the habits again, get back on track has been good. And this move probably was a healthy move, where he's kind of not in the limelight, because Colorado, you're still in the limelight.
Yeah. And speaking of Colorado, it was indicated that also Valerie Nichushkin, he's out for a little bit, lower body, week to week. That often means 2 to 3 weeks. He'll be out at least. Excuse me. And they're flying on all cylinders. I think Colorado right now is probably the best team in the West, if not one of the best in the league. But they're flying in high numbers. They're having a hell of a time, especially that big victory over the weekend versus the Oilers, which was kind of a shellacking. But to get back to Toronto quickly before we jump over, I think there's already rumblings about what does this mean for Craig Berube? Because, the fan base is not going to sit idly by as they squander away another season for what? Especially after what the Jays did this year. I think they're looking for a spark, and Craig Berube's got to find it. Stolars, I know, has been injured. He may or may not get back. Another lingering injury. Joseph Woll potentially could start versus Chicago this weekend, so that's on the radar. But again, he's been out of the game for a while. How ready will he be? I mean, Dennis held the beast as his nickname. He's proven to be good, but he's a 3G goalie, so it's going to be tough to see what happens. Keep an eye on Toronto because there's got to be something moved, and they got a lot of bodies. Evan, they got to move. You got Kaller Yonkro, potentially Nick Robertson is on the move, even though he's really filled in. With Chris Tanev out, you got to find something on the back end because Oliver Ekman-Larsson has been your best defenseman so far, right? And Morgan Riley's struggling. And would that be somebody that Toronto would consider trading, right? So food for thought. It's definitely interesting in the world of Toronto.
I just don't think Trey Living is bold enough to make some of those moves, like a Morgan Riley, kind of a guy that's been a staple. I know he's not his guy, but I think he's connected well in the community. He's been considered a top-end defenseman, but it's a good contract to be able to send out. You're getting what you're paying for, essentially, in today's salary, basically, with what we're working with. So, yeah, this will be quite interesting. I'm quite interesting in what their moves are going to be, but I think they'll make the playoffs, but I'm just worried what will they be able to do, and I can't imagine what that Maple Leafs fans will rip that building apart piece by piece, chair by chair, and drinks will be everywhere. In fact, they might actually have enough drinks thrown on the ice that they could actually run a layer of beer across the top of that rink if they don't start pulling this thing together.
And speaking of teams that are playing tonight, the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Rangers, you guys could be checking that out right now. But Tampa Bay is dealing with their own injury, including Victor Hedman, their top defenseman and captain, as well as Ryan McDonough, who he's a trooper. He's a battler. So that missing those two guys on the back end is going to really hurt that team. And John Cooper trying to find a way to kind of stave off another bad start, because they did have a bad start, and start rolling again because they've been kind of all over the place. And he's also going to be coaching Team Canada, so there'll be some action there. And speaking of which, there was a global series in Sweden that has been announced. It looms around November 14th to the 16th. Is that correct, Evan?
Yeah, that's what in the next few days. If I'm wrong in my reporting there, guys, correct it. Definitely feel free to correct it, but I believe it's coming up next few days here.
And just some players this season, just some interesting numbers that have kind of been happening with most defensive zone giveaways, according to Money Puck. So at number one is Rasmus Dahlin.
Whoa, number one defenseman. Maybe that's one of the issues that Buffalo has. Just a thought.
100%. I know he's gone through a lot this year with his girlfriend having a heart attack, I believe it was. So that was a little bit.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I never heard that. Yeah,
that was at the beginning of the season where it just happened. And fortunately, the staff, wherever they were, I can't remember the location, addressed it and helped her and really treated them well. So they were very thankful. Yeah, that was a whole thing. So I know she's looking at long-term treatment here with more medical tests. I don't know all the details, but we wish them all the best. But again, he's not in the right mindset. And again, another down year for Buffalo, although many fans of other teams and hockey fans would say, it's Buffalo. The league is a worse place when Buffalo is out of the playoffs. You need Buffalo in the playoffs. And after a beautiful Alexander Mogilny ceremony, and if you guys haven't watched it, go watch the speech he gave for being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was incredible. And to have that, the team should galvanize around that and really put it together for Mogilny to actually just get to the postseason and make a statement. That's what I see. But go ahead.
Hey, so let's take a moment here. I know we got stuff that you're hitting on. Let's take a moment and what do you guys all out there think about this? So if you haven't seen it, you got to go check it out. You'll be able to answer. But what I noticed, Pawel, I see different people mentioning, and so they're like, are you serious? All he did was promote Soviet hockey. Now, first of all, I've corrected people. It's not Soviet hockey. It's Russia hockey. I get it. They're at war, and you think they're still like the Soviet Union. They're not the Soviet Union. You may not like the government, you may not like the war that they're started and what they're in and what they're doing, but the bottom line is Mogilny is in Russia. He is going to acknowledge the things that got him to be who he is. And so I was okay with him giving recognition to all of his development to get him there. And I don't think he's going to have said, oh, yeah, when I was 18, I defected. I left the Soviet Union, when he's living in Russia and there's a war on. Would you agree or disagree?
I 100% agree. I think moving that all aside, because the world has changed even in the time since he was in the league and when he deflected over, I think you have to understand that as a body for hockey, Russia has produced some incredible talent to the point where it has forced, North America, Canada, and U.S. to really step up their game, to really learn how to, play better. And let's not forget, Evan, the amount of players now in the NHL that are Russian that probably looked up to players like Alexander Mogilny amongst other legends, right? Yeah. I mean, even Ovechkin, even though he's a little, he's still in the league, or Evgeny Malkin, Sergei Fedorov, you go back even earlier, just name them, right? And they paved the way for players like Kucherov, who play the way they do, who play for like Pavel Datsyuk and what he was able to do in the league with the Red Wings when he was around. It just you grow the game in that capacity, right? And Russia knows how to create talented players. Look at the goalies. A lot of the goalies, we talked about it last season, are coming over from Russia. Shesterkin, Sorokin, Vasilevsky's still playing well. These aren't nobodies. These are household names in the world of hockey. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's like even anything outside of North America. Like America's doing a good job at producing a few here and there. But Sweden constantly producing. Finland constantly producing. Russia always producing. Russia has always been, not always, most of their entire existence has literally the Russian goalie machine. After Tretiak, I think they went about 15 to 17 years struggling to build their goalies, but they were building forwards. I think the area that they have not always excelled in out of Russia is defensemen. That has not been as common. They're incredibly good at forwards and goalies, and especially centermen.
Well, Gonchar, Sergachev, players like that.
But if you take the number of Russian players and how many are like Hall of Fame players is what I'm referring to, right? I mean, obviously,
I would look at Gonchar as somebody who kind of stood the.
Absolutely. Konstantinov. I mean, but we probably can't name all-star Hall of Fame kind of guys more than 10, more than 12. Whereas we can probably go through about 30 right now off the top of our head for forwards. I guess that's kind of my.
I think it goes to show you he should have been in the Hall of Fame a while back. It was, it ended up working that he got in. So great for him. We're glad to have him there. I think there's been an advocacy from almost the entire hockey world for Mogilny for what he did. You can't deny his past, regardless of what the current state of affairs is, because he grew up in a time where it was much more different than what it is now. So the fact that he was known as the defector should, that itself as a word means a lot. It has weight. And so you go to show. Go ahead.
And don't you love it that he actually goes back home when it's no longer the Soviet Union? I think that, and again, forget about what's going on there, right? So, okay, let's go on.
Awesome. So we were talking about some of the players with most giveaways, and Jordan says Nachos, but I think he's referring to what the Lost Trucker was talking about with Natchez. So just a misspelling there.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if anyone's following, you read anything from Jordan or Lost Trucker /Zill, you will notice they have a little ribbing back and forth. It's kind of like a hockey thing.
They have their own riff going on. We've created animosity amongst the fan base. So. So Kevin Ball at number 2, Erik Karlsson at number 3, even though, he's been playing well for Pittsburgh this year. Morgan Rielly, of course, we talked about
defensive Toronto. Liability still, though. I think that's the key, right?
He is. And, of course, Chris Letang also, getting older. He doesn't have the foot speed as he used to. He's gone through quite a bit in terms of his own physicality. So, of course, it's very impressive that he's still playing. You just wonder if he's able to compete as much with some of the younger guys, right? He has the size, he's physical, but you see a lot of the league get younger and more speed is what is often infused. Along with Zadorov, Klevin, Nico Mikola, Esselendel, and Travis Sanheim of the Philadelphia Flyers. So some interesting numbers there. Lost Trucker says Kindle is surprised, but these things change. People figure out systems, they get better, they tighten up. Coaches work with players, they figure out how best to perform. And these numbers and, of course, these statistics will change. What I did want to get into, Evan, is that when we talk about statistics, we're talking about gambling. And there's been a bit of a scandal in the last little bit here. And it sounds like the NHL is reviewing the claims against Ottawa's Arthur Kaliev over alleged debts that he owed not only to players, but other people in his orbit in the LA organization. And it was one of the reasons he got traded, including his ex-girlfriend, who has come forward with kind of the story about what's been going on. So the NHL is reviewing all this. It sounds like so far, according to what we've heard, everything is under the books or by the books, nothing against the NHL in betting, like we saw with Shane Pinto and the betting. But the NHL is keeping a close eye, especially since we talked about the NBA scandal. And I think there was an NFL one right afterwards about, the FBI cracking down on gambling rings and things of that nature. Any comment?
We knew this was going to happen when they brought hockey in and they opened it up to gambling. That was going to be an issue. And so the NHL is no different than NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball. You're going to have, in fact, I think there's more going on than they actually realize of things around this. And I know they're trying to keep a tight lid on it. But if they don't get outed by people close to them, how are they going to know? How will they know? Do they got algorithms out there, software that's finding their names connected to gambling websites or companies? I don't know, man. It's but I do worry about things being fixed in the future at some point, especially by players that might get 8 minutes ice time, careers ending, and they can make some money in the playoffs. You just wonder. There's my conspiracy.
Go ahead.
No, that's my conspiracy.
Oh, that's your conspiracy. I think that when the NHL got into this gambling, and of course the revenue is there, but it's really shined a spotlight on the need for a lot of information to be visible, because if people, like I said, are trying to make a bet and say, hey, is Demko going to play? Is Matthews going to play? Is Stolarz going to be in net for Toronto? That's going to determine the betting. And we are inundated with it constantly in between periods while the game is going on. Always something, the FanDuel. And I've seen enough lives be ruined by gambling that I try not to partake in it myself. I think that, what you do with your life is your business with your money, but I've just seen it have a negative impact on a lot of people. And I can't see the story dying down. And if anything, it'll continue to ramp up as the league evolves with the gambling revenue that's been coming in. And mark my words, it's growing, Evan. The bet app is growing. All those sites are growing. So you're only going to see more and more of it. So we hope that everything is okay, because Kaliev was a big piece in that trade this offseason for Jordan Spence. But, if he's not able to play, or if this impacts Ottawa in any way.
Now, is that not the defaulted draft pick that they lose this coming season?
I believe so.
Ottawa loses a draft pick.
Because no, I thought it was last year that they gave it up.
Oh, no, they have a defaulted pick this year.
Then it's this year. Yeah, then it's this year.
Okay.
Yeah. For that scandal that happened. Now, no easy way to transition this, but you like redrafting. You like your Revs top 15. So I know you had a few questions about the 2023 NHL entry draft. Do you want to kind of take us through it?
Yeah, let's pull them up. This is for you, buddy. Let's see what you can do. You can do this out there. If you guys are following, go ahead and you can just put last name, first name, whatever, first and just use first or last, whatever easiest. Let's redraft. So, right. And I made sure I didn't put them in any particular order so you couldn't follow or cheat or something. If you were drafting today and doing a redraft, And I'm just going to take these 5 players who have been probably the most success: Will Smith, Adam Fantilli, Connor Bedard, Matvey Michkov, Moffy, as our good friend Jamie Vasco of the Flyers Nitty Gritty beat writer down in Philadelphia calls him, and this year's Carson, Leo Carson. I see that I made a mistake on the piece. Let me fix this because that bugs me. So, but anyway, Carlson. So Carlson is like having a knockout season, buddy. And so I want to know, what do you think? What do you think?
So I'm sticking with Bedard as my first. I am.
Okay.
He's really turned it on this year. Last year was a sophomore slump. He's going into a contract year. He's really proving himself. He's trying to make Team Canada, and he potentially could. We don't know yet. Him and Celebrini have been making rounds about potentially being that extra forward there. So I'm not moving Connor Bedard off that list.
Okay.
The second one. This is a tough one because I like Leo Carlson, and I think he's been dynamite, and I know he went second. But I still believe I would go with potentially Will Smith. Will Smith at second. And the reason being is because he has so much great chemistry with Celebrini that it just goes to show you how much fun it is. Now, then Carlson would be my third. Fantilli would still be my fourth because, he plays in a very defensive system in Columbus. And Michkov, he would still be later on for me, fifth. I know he went seventh, but I still have him last in this draft. And the only reason
would you actually put him as low as seventh? Would you put anybody ahead of him, like Reinbacher? I'm just looking at some of the guys that went ahead of him.
So I would, but the challenge is in that draft, like Ryan Leonard. He's had some great success with the Hershey Bears, and he's played for Washington Capitals and really fit in nicely. You look at anybody else there, no one really stands out so far that's made that big of an impact, right? I'm looking through the name. Easton Cowan, he hasn't really been an opportunity to prove himself as a potential third C. Tom Willander, he's kind of been in and out of the lineup. Brandon Yeager, I think he's injured right now, so he hasn't even had a chance to play. You look at some of the other names. Quentin
wasn't a really deep draft for high-end guys, as much as we thought it might be.
Zachary Benson, again, I'm yet to see him proving. But again, this could be just playing in a system where your team doesn't have as much confidence, or you're struggling as a team, or it's a coaching style. There's so many factors that go into it. But I think the first 5 guys are beyond Reinbacher, who has yet to play a game, are really going to have success. And I include Michkov in that, along with Ryan Leonard. Now, Dvorsky has been kind of okay. Again, Benson has had 21 goals and 45 assists in 154 games. So not nothing. But again, Buffalo got a great guy, but you need to surround him with more. So
what's the last trucker got there?
She's got Connor Bedard, Matvey Michkov, Leo Carlson, Will Smith, and Adam Fantilli.
Okay, yeah. I think of any of those folks, I am impressed that Leo has kept up to what we thought he could be in a few years. I knew he was going to be a slow start because he was, as much as I had him ranked higher, I didn't think he'd go that high. But Fantilli, I hear people saying, well, Fantilli's only there because of the fact that in this case, Fantilli plays with Columbus, and Columbus have a system that doesn't work as well. I don't know if I buy into that, though.
So the one thing I would give credit to is Joe Quenneville and his first year back at the bench, and he's really taken this Ducks team and really made them competitive. And, right now, front runner for the Jack Adams with what he's been able to do. And it goes to show you that, Pat Verbeek took that swing, and it's paid off so far. And they're rocking it in the Pacific. They've been an unstoppable thing, including Jacob Trouba, who's had a career year so far. So, again, when your team is rolling, everyone's succeeding. But when your team is like dwindling or in the middle of the pack, it's hard to kind of, showcase yourself. So once you get going, then that's when, the whole team succeeds. So it'll be interesting to see how we finish off the year with all these 5 players, and we'll have to revisit them. But it's been interesting so far. So And in final news, I just wanted to note that David Pasternak hit 400 goals and 401 actually goals in that 5-3 win over Toronto. He is an elite sniper, great player, great just all around guy, super funny. And really, he's really bought into the system. And I like what they're showing because Boston's not going away. They're pesky. And I enjoyed the celebration. I know some people didn't like the fact that people got off the bench. I
love
loved it. You want it, so we'd love to see more of it. But any quick thoughts there before we move over to Rev's top 15?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that they need to enjoy. Like, why can't they be like young boys out on the ice and playing and having a good time and celebrating for like this whole robotic, like, let's not get excited kind of thing. You know what? In the 9-1 shellacking of the Edmonton Oilers, if I'm the Colorado Avalanche, every goal I score over 5, man, I am pumped. I don't care how embarrassed they are. That's on them, dudes. I remember playing in a local senior men's league, rec league, and we were, man, I think it was like 5-1 or 6-1, and the last minute they scored 2-3 more goals. But those goals were sweet. They weren't like chippy, bad goals. They were sweet goals. I'm the goalie being scored on. And I'm like yelling at the guy, that's sweet. You beat me like a running mule. I mean, I think that we got to start loving hockey. Like, even bad games, learn to enjoy them. We talked to the Calgary fans the other week there when we had our guest on, Trevor Neufeld. It's like, enjoy the games. Buffalo, you got good players. Enjoy the games. If you're not going to win, find something to enjoy. Like, think about junior hockey, how much that happens. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So the only thing I'd say about the Boston Bruins is I know they're doing well, but okay, so you go in, you make the playoffs. You're not making a dent. I'm sorry. They're just not making a dent with that lineup, especially when it comes to hard hitting, close checking hockey. Pasternak is not going to be able to perform the same. And so I have the question. Maybe it's time to trade Pasternak. You could get a fortune. Let Swayman go. You'll get a fortune and do a real rebuild. Or are you going to be like Calgary and be stuck in the middle? This is the problem with Calgary and why they're back right down there again. After like 7 years, they started moving up and they moved too quick. I don't see many teams stick in the middle and stay in the middle and be able to get to the top unless they drop to the bottom. And generally speaking, so
reporting now is coming out of Calgary that Murray Edwards, the owner of the Calgary Flames, doesn't even want to trade Nazem Kadri because he likes him. And it's just like, what's the point, right? Like, because you like him this year. What about next year and the next 10 years down the line? But we'll get into it a little bit later. Right now, we've got Rev's Top 15.
Rev's Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
All right, Evan.
All right, let's get into this a little bit. I'm going to just talk about our number 3 here today. If you can put it up on the screen for our so people can see my top 15 there for us, Pawel. I have Ivar Stenberg, which we're going to talk about. I haven't ranked at number 3, and I'm going to get into a little bit on him first. But first, I want to do this. Drafting factors. When you're drafting a player, I was just recently actually talking to one pro amateur scout in Western Canada just this last week. And the truth is, he says, listen, it's a red flag for drafting prospects, or even when you're watching and developing them, if they are a mid-sized player who is already 190 pounds plus. That's going into a draft. Unless they're out of shape. And then that's not really good in itself, but you might be able to work with them if they have a lot of skill. So it usually means they have no physical development left in them if they've already hit 190, unless you're talking about they're extremely tall. And that would mean that they're obviously going to have a higher weight mass to them. But it usually means that their physical development has peaked early. So what you'll notice is not a lot of players, so you may go, oh, they're a good size, because if they peak too early, there's not a lot of development past that, and they've only been playing at whatever level against smaller folks already. That's why someone who peaked early, like an Eric Lindros, but he was a phenom at his size. And he continued at every level to outperform. But really, that's a sign of a potential tweener. So first up, that's the thing. Here's the thing for Chicago, and this is a draft watch for this coming season. One of the most, when I say that, because they could be pulling someone out a little bit earlier that might actually fall into this pick. Nikita Klepov is one of the most exciting young prospects right now for the draft class. And he really has been standing out for his precious skill set and his rapid rise. Now, he's being ranked around 30, 31, most things right now. Some have him early second. But he was born in Florida, but to Russian parents. And he's only 17 years old. So now they've made a move for him versus he has a versatility to play center, but he holds dual USA Russian citizenship. So no one knows, but he has planned and he's committed to Michigan State University. So he'll be going there after a CHL stint. And scouts have been praising this elite puck hand. So keep your eye out. People say he has a deceptive shot in playmaking, just like Nikita Kucherov. Now, his development path is looking good. And he is a guy that I'm telling you, he has joined Sioux City this year. He'll move into the CHL for a year and then move over to the NCAA. So there's some time off. And I'm just saying, because this might be a player that they could use in Chicago. All right, let's break this down. Ivar Stenberg. He's 6 feet already, 181 pounds. Again, you don't want him too heavy. Remember what we talked about. He has played a lot of J20. That is the highest league in Sweden, like the CHL, Major Junior, when you're talking about North America. And he has been playing for Frölunda. Now, Frölunda in the Swedish Hockey League, he is sitting at 17 points in 19 games with men. Now, that's not common. He is the best Swedish prospect, people say, since Rasmus Dahlin. Remember who went first overall we were just talking about. Or Leo Carlson, who he's being compared to, who went number 2 overall, and we were just talking about as well. But he is undeniably the best prospect since those two guys. Now, they've had some good prospects recently, but his draft year production right now, he is on a 0.82 points per game, and he is exceeding the draft season rates of Peter Forsberg, Henrik Sedin, Nicholas Backstrom, Marcus Naslund for some of you older folks, and he's only barely behind who many of you Canuck fans know in Daniel Sedin. So, man, he's got high praise. 17 years old. He had played 25 games last year, got 12 games in the playoffs. So he's getting the experience, but he has elite puck handling, and I mean elite. Great vision, high hockey IQ, is a two-way player, very adaptable. They say he is a constant playmaking threat, but he does have a few weaknesses. And of course, but he projects into a future top 6 forward. Not everyone is fully sold, and that's why I said there's a few things that he needs to work on. They're worried about his perimeter heavy play because he plays a little bit more around the perimeter, and will that adapt into North America? Bottom line, folks, as a prospect, Ivar Stenberg ranks among the top 5 to 10 best Swedish draft eligible talents of the last quarter. I'm going to say last decade, 2.5 decades, 25 years at least. But that's it for today's Revs Top 15.
Revs Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
All righty, excellent work here. There's some good prospects on the way, some good potential draft picks that people are going to be able to pick. So we're looking forward to the draft next year because there's going to be a lot. Now, I did want to talk about quickly around the NHL that Anton Fromdell for the Chicago Blackhawks, he's had a really good way of separating in order to get it open away from the puck. Combined with his high-end shooting talent. I mean, he gets off the wall, he can beat defensemen around rebounds and deflections, and he pushes the pace away from the puck, but also slows down the game, and he can drop it down to the slot, when it's the right course of action. So, he's got 8 goals in 17 games for 12 points. I mean, the kid has been phenomenal. Another reason why Chicago's in the mix. And then, of course, you've got Roman Kasparov, the 2023 second round pick, number 44. He's also having a breakout season for the Melarug Magnitorsk in the KHL. So Patrick kind of pointed him out to us to check out, where he's been transitioned to play primary as a center. So,
Yeah.
You want that flexibility to play wing or center. You see that Will Smith right now in what's it called? In San Jose, and a lot of players will try that. They'll start on the wing and move to center because it is a challenging role, and you really got to be able to play both sides of the ice.
That's right.
So it'll be interesting to see how things go. But
I mean, Chicago's looking good though, eh?
In your top 15.
What's that?
Lost Trucker says, JR Jordan must be disappointed. No WHLer in your top 15.
Oh yeah, that's right. Gavin McKenna's out.
Yeah, there's been some hit and misses about the stories coming out of Gavin McKenna and the fans turning on him and stuff. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah. We're not really talking about the fans turning it. This has nothing to do with Penn State. He's actually driving 80 to 85% of all the offensive play. Let's just be clear about this.
Yeah,
there was a mistake, in my opinion. I have no say in this, but this is just from my perspective. Thought about this when he went to Penn State. I know Godowski, local Edmonton guy, media, a lot of people know him, Bob Stauffer, praises Godowski. He was his coach back in Edmonton when he was a kid. Maybe that's why he overpraises them too much. Yeah, he's done a great job with Penn State, but they also play in an easy div, and they get a lot of easy games. Playing against the number one team, Michigan State University, that's where Porter Martone went, folks. Just saying. What you're going to find is Penn State's not as good as people think they are. They're not as well coached. They don't have as much of the same kind of training and production. And so here's the difference between you play in a place like Penn State. They don't have a long history of winning. Yes, they're doing well, and but they're a long ways away. And in my opinion, he went for money over a solid training program. That's what happened here. And I think his agent, I don't know if it was his agent officially, it was his advisor, who I believe was, who was his line mate? Try to remember, the former Calgary Flame.
Line mate.
Who?
I'm not familiar.
Oh, no, in Medicine Hat. The dad, Ryder's dad. Oh, man. Folks, I don't know why I've just kind of drawn a blank there, but if you know what I'm referring to, Ryder Ritchie. So Brett Ritchie, I think it was Brett Ritchie. Was his advisor with the family and the team. They had different discussions. He wasn't the sole reason, but the bottom line is I think he was put in that position. So he went for $750,000 instead of maybe getting $400,000 or $500,000, because in Michigan they don't need to pay you $750,000. They're getting you Porter Martones anyway. They'd rather get 2 Porter Martones than 1 Gavin McKenna. And I think this was a bad move for Gavin in that sense, that I don't think he gets – I think his competition is harder. I don't think he has as much support. The ASU game was a little bit misleading, I think, for us at the beginning. I thought they were a lot better team, but now looking at their ability, they're not as strong a team. So here's a bottom line. He will adjust. And I think actually the harder play – even if he doesn't have the record-shattering numbers, say as a Macklin Celebrini, people are already saying, oh, he's far behind Bedard and Celebrini. Be careful. No one's ever gone from the WHL to there and not been prepared, and it's a different game, and I'm going to talk about that, the difference when you're going into the NCAA versus the CHL, and for example, coming from the BCHL. We'll talk about that around the rink before we close off today. But hey, Chicago though, could you imagine that? That's where I was getting mixed up earlier. I was thinking another Russian, but could you imagine Kantersov? I mean, so he's looking, his contract with Metalburg expires at the end of May 26th. So he can choose to come over for next season or at the end of the year, and be around 22 years old. They have Anton Frendel, who's almost a point a game. He's got 8 goals already in, I think, about 15 games or something like around there. I mean, Chicago's looking good with folks, and they're having a great season to top it all off.
Yeah, it's paying off all the dividends from last year that should have paid off last year. But good for them. And you love to see Chicago be successful again for Connor Bedard and take that next step. They're not a potential playoff team this year, or they may sneak in. But really, like Boston, like what more can they do? But next year they could potentially make a threat to being what a Montreal was last year and this year, right? So it'll be interesting to see. And speaking of the Metro, the New York Islanders, Bo Horvat, he's had a resurgence of a career there. 16 games, 20 points, put on record at 30 for the best season ever. 12 goals and over 100 points season. He's really looked good.
He's on. Could you imagine if he hits 100 points this year at 30 years old for the first time ever?
Yeah, I mean, he's really found a stride. And again, I don't know why Vancouver traded for him because he was a great 2C, but, he's really fit in. And, that trade is not looking so good. I know they got Atu Ratti and someone else. I think they got a pick for him as well. It's just, he signed that long-term contract and the Islanders are sneakily away picking up points here and there, and Schaefer continues to impress. The team is doing very well. Could they sneak in and do some damage? For sure. I just like what they've been doing. And they have the potential to be an upset if they get in. That's how I see it. But it'll be interesting to see. We'll be monitoring that. And
hey, can I just put it? I'd like to just put a shout out here, just to add it in again for everyone. We'll mention it again in a little bit. But if you're actually following us, folks, we definitely appreciate you guys jumping on and walking with us through all this. But we would just like to say thanks. Make sure you follow us over on Facebook and on YouTube. Subscribe, follow, like, all the way through those things because it's easier. And or just plan to go over to our website. If you get over to our website, you can find all our former guests that we've had on. Trevor Neufeld, the Calgary Flames, did some work with Hockey Heavy. Or is it Hockey Now? I've lost track of where everyone's from. But generally speaking, guys, we definitely appreciate all the connections. And if you're needing to reach out, just remember you can follow us right on our website. So right on our website, you can just take the QR code scan at the top and click on that. So
awesome. And that's pretty much the news from around the NHL. We're going to get into Around the Rink. Around the Ring brought to you by Flow Hockey, our great partner there. So, some news in the BCHL. As of November 12th, it sounds like the West Kelowna Warriors are sitting atop the entire BCHL, standing with a stellar record of 13-1-2. Very impressive. Good on you guys. In a league that's expanded to include the 5 Alberta teams, as you guys know, we covered it ad nauseum last season. The Warriors' early season dominance shows that with only one regulation loss, Evan, one regulation in 60 minutes lost through 60
that's
games.
crazy.
Shows that they potentially could be the front runner for the Fred Page Cup, right? I mean, you go and watch their highlights through their interconference. It just goes to show you that, like, they're incredible. Highlights the BCHL is growing across the province, and it goes to show you the development across the two provinces, BC and Alberta. It's been impressive. Go ahead if you want to add anything.
Yeah, no, it's been wonderful. I would like to mention just an example of that. The Sherwood Park Crusaders, Eric called. He is a defenseman. He just this last week here, he got first star of the week. He led all players with 6 points in just 2 games. Now, called offensive outburst from the blue line. Just remember that this is rare for a defenseman. And I think it's important. Alberta imports like him are elevating the league's BCHL talent. He is an overager at 19. And what I expect, this is kind of his coming out. I get it. He's not playing against as big and heavy. There are older kids, and not as skilled per se. But this could watch for him. If he goes the full season, I could see him getting some type of invitation to a team or even an AHL contract that could be coming out of this. So we all remember going back, or not, maybe we don't all remember, you and I do, Lou Gravel of the Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League. He came on and we talked a little bit. We got into, right after we had him on, the whole BCHL, like you said, we talked ad nauseum about. I've had some people ask, they said, Evan, it's like you're pushing the narrative for the BCHL. But, they stole players. They stole teams from the AJHL. They did this and they did. Well, the WHL just did the same thing. They just took, literally, the Penticton Bees, the most successful franchise in the BCHL, and they just took them to the WHL. And the BCHL didn't complain. But there is a reason, Pawel, because in the CHL, players have to be drafted. They can go sign them as a free agent too and stuff. But generally, you don't get there unless you try a walk-in, which never works, or you're drafted to there. And those are the players that they invest in. So I wanted to take some time before just to explain things a little bit and give you guys a proper narrative. So I only want an equal playing ground for the BCHL because I don't think it gets its due. And so I have gone and made some contacts. I've talked a little bit I had a connection to a board member as well as one of the team owners that I had a conversation around. I put some information together that I'm going to feed you guys here. They still, this year, are continuing to lead junior hockey in Div 1 NCAA commitments. Literally. Now, they just had, I mentioned a little while back in October's governor board meeting, and they recapped their plans for an emphasized education programs. But people say, well, people get their education in the CHL. I hear this all the time. I want you to catch this. 193 committed players, record number this season going in, are with the BCHL. So they're still leading in NCAA commitments. So it's BCHL, USHL, NHL, and CHL. Now, CHL has a lot of commitments the next couple seasons that they're working with, but the CHL is a different beast. And what I would say is don't expect the CHL to have a high number of people going to the NCAA the same. And there's a reason. Let me walk through this with you, okay? So let's break down the BCHL advantage for the NCAA and why I support it for the NCAA. Academic preparation. So in the BCHL, they have mandatory academic readiness program. In the CHL, there is no league-wide academic staff or standardized program. In the BCHL, they have full-time education advisors on staff. They do partnerships with U.S. prep schools and online programs for SAT and ACT. They do transcripts, clearinghouse. Players routinely graduate high school before or during junior career. In the CHL, many players leave high school early. Their education often is handled by billets. No, people don't think, they go, oh, they all go to school. No, they don't. A lot of it is handled by billets or tutors, and there's inconsistent quality. It's not straight across the board. Guys like Gavin McKenna, he got ahead not just from school. He did more work outside of that. Now, it's harder to meet NCAA initial eligibility requirements on time for CHL players. There's a couple reasons. There's the tuition and scholarship guarantee. For example, the BCHL has a 100% tuition paid at any NCAA school for every year of BCHL eligibility. Now you're like, oh yeah, but they get that in the CHL because they get 1 year of eligibility. Here's the difference. That eligibility going to an American school between $250,000 and almost $500,000 over 4 years. But they also get to play on the team. A CHL person does not get an automatic. Yes, they can go to they have to follow the application process if they get accepted. No guarantee they're on the team, and walk-ins barely ever get there. Next thing, schedule, course load. Guys, I've broken this down. I've spent some time. BCHL, 48-54 game schedule. They make it like the NCAA. They practice in the mornings and afternoons like the NCAA. It allows full-time online or an in-person high school and college courses. For some of them, even do prep courses. Many players will take 3 to 5 courses per semester while actually playing. In the CHL, they play up to a 72-game season, long bus rides, especially in the WHL, right, with how far apart. And their practices are usually evenings, and it conflicts with a lot of night classes, and most players only take 1 to 2 courses. I know this sounds long, but please bear with me. Player autonomy and no draft. Players choose their team in the BCHL. It's a better fit wherever they think for their development, education, and billeting. They can leave for the NCAA anytime without permission or transfer portal drama. Whereas in the CHL, they have to follow that. They must be released or traded. And they're drafted at 15 to 16 and cannot choose their team and be moved unless they complain about it. Like someone like Rob Schremp did previously when he was drafted first overall. The other part that we look at is development focused. Average ice time for players in the BCHL, 18 to 22 minutes between 17 and 19. And then if you're looking, bottom 6 players in the CHL get 6 to 10 minutes. And it because the veterans will block the youth. So it's a win now pressure market. So the coaching is different. Training facilities. There's what they call a standards scorecard that they use in the BCHL. It requires every team to have full-time skills coach, full-time strength and conditioning staff, a video room and analytics, and the minimum rink standards, what's there. That is improving in the CHL, but there's a wide variance, and some have no dedicated weight rooms, believe it or not, and actually over 35% of the CHL. And then exposure. There's annual BCHL showcases. You guys didn't know this, but every team plays in front of 200 plus NCAA pro scouts. They get 2 games. Everybody gets 2 games where they have all these scouts. And then they have their top prospects game. CHL only has 1 prospects game. They have like triple the amount of teams, and then only 40 players are selected that get to be seen. So we're talking the top 2 rounds max of those 40 players. So the pathway, you play here, full ride. That's a big difference to me. This season, 13 more players, Pawel, have gone to the CHL. In fact, Chilliwack Chiefs, they lost 6 of them. The BHL is still adapting to all this drain, but they remain resilient as the number 1 NCAA feeder and NCAA feeder. And I got to tell you, I'm proud of it, man.
That's incredible. Yeah. So you guys can let us know your thoughts of the breakdown that Evan just had, but I think it just goes to show you that hockey is beyond just what's on the ice, and there's so many of these decisions that these young players have to make, because whether or not they succeed at that high level, there's so many other things that they want to look for, whether it is ice time, whether it is play facility, whether it is courses, things like that. And, it's their future on the line, and they want to make the best choice for themselves. And they're not the only ones deciding. I'm sure they have family decisions amongst other things. So incredible to kind of hear, and we'll be reporting on it as things develop and emerge. And finally, to close out around the rink, there's been some information about the PWHL. So we both know Seattle and Vancouver have revealed their team names and logos. They're trying to build a hype. I know you weren't big on, and I myself was a little bit hesitant about the jersey reveal. Well, now they've kind of shown the names, the Torts and the Golden Eyes. And I believe it's the Vancouver team that's playing out of the Coliseum or the Pacific Stadium, which I've been to. And they actually have the logo on the ice permanently. So they don't have to change it because that's their rink and that's where they're always going to play. Again, the game is growing. I want to see it grow. Any thoughts essentially about the 2 logos and names?
Well, I think somebody might be listening. They may not come on our show, but they've been listening to 2 Guys in Hockey Talk because I said, this is Mickey Mouse. But obviously, it would have been nice if they maybe waited a little longer and unveiled it the week before, but maybe they want to get sales. I just don't know why within literally 2 weeks you put out a Vancouver shirt, a Seattle shirt jersey, and you get that. And then within 2 weeks, you unveil the actual jersey and the name. So it's kind of interesting.
I've always enjoyed when, and again, you don't have to take my word for it, but like I've always enjoyed when teams, whatever league it may be, always have fan contests for designing specific logos. And I'll bring it back here to Edmonton when there's like a specific Indigenous night and they've designed like a cool turtle logo of the Edmonton Oilers, really cool. Or for Diwali for the Vancouver Canucks fans, and you've seen those cool NHL jerseys. But I mean, a myriad of sports, you see some of the designs that fan bases have made and people around the world. And there's some really talented, creative people. And I would love to have those people kind of showcase their art to these PWHL teams, amongst others, of course, and really just kind of highlight like, hey, if this is your name, or even if you're just Vancouver, or even if you're just Toronto, or if you're this team, here's what we think, right? And you really can get a myriad of talented artwork and designs. And I think sometimes using that could be a very beneficial and one that brings people together, especially community in the game of hockey. So I really like that. Lost Trucker said, must be nice if they wear their name, only 1 jersey for 1 visit of the original 16s. Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh, that would be cool now. I like that idea. Yeah.
And still haven't heard back from the PWHL as to whether they will be wearing a combination of jersey or just just one another. Or so it'll be interesting to see. They have a lot of opportunity for growth, especially in the social media age. And you gotta latch onto that because people's attention span is short. We know this because you tune into our show and you're getting exactly what you need. But we bring it to you exactly as you want in sound bites, in a yummy pizza pocket. So again, creative ways, PWHL, we are here to help voluntarily. Just reach out to us, anyone listening around the league. But in the meantime, that has been Around the Rink. All right, Evan, we're reaching to the end of the show. Any final thoughts before we wrap up again for another phenomenal episode?
Not really. I think that my biggest thing, maybe one side note, I'm super impressed, if I can just say this, with Trevor Zegras. That would be my biggest thing. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about him next week in more details because we've kind of run out of time here. But I'm very impressed with Trevor Zegras and what he's been able to do under Talkate. So I'd like to talk about that more next week. But otherwise, man, no, it's been great. You've been a great host. I appreciate it. Any last thoughts from you?
Just wanted to keep an eye out on that ice in Milan because apparently NHL is sending over some people and there's a little bit of hesitation. And I don't understand why they don't throw all the money that the NHL has to make that rink work because you need the best ice for the best on best.
Yeah, just offer it, right? From the NHLPA,
exactly. And if you can't even get ice right, it's gonna be a mess.
So my understanding is they're going there right following the Global Series. So as soon as they wrap up some of the work, they're heading over there.
So let's hope that can be prepared because I'm looking forward to the best on best. And I'm looking forward to potential projections of who's going to be on each team. And we're going to be doing that sooner rather than later. So make sure you stay tuned in every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are here on Facebook. We are on YouTube. Give us a subscribe and follow. We are on X/Twitter at hockey_2 or Revenev. And we are on Instagram. So we are constantly posting shorts, reels, videos, stories. We've got articles on our website consistently, whether it's Boston Bruins, whether it's your weekly updates, or whether you just wanted to see who's been a guest on this phenomenal, amazing show. We love you checking out our stuff. That's it for another edition of Two Guys in Hockey Talk, Season 7, Episode 10. We appreciate everyone who's been tuning in online. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. You guys have been phenomenal. Make sure to leave a comment. We'd love to hear where you're from, where you're tuning in from. And on that note,
hey, great week though, guys. Over 150 coming on live today. Appreciate you. We're still working. I did send out to. By the way, I just did a webinar with StreamYard, who we work through the services. I asked them, can we get X so we can comment from X? Because I know we have a lot of you coming in from the X Factor. You just can't comment. So remember, if you're on X, jump over to YouTube and or Facebook and or Instagram, and you can definitely jump over and comment from those pages.
In the immortal words of DMX, X gonna give it to you. And we wanted to.
Guys, it's been a ring a ding dong dandy in the famous words of Ed Whalen. In the meantime and in between time.
Keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe. We appreciate you. Have a great night.